Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Cap of the World in Kernersville, North Carolina. My name is Bobby Davis, CEO and founder of Coder Foundry. And Kevin, it is another great spring day in February.
It feels more like summer.
It does feel like summer here, man.
We haven't talked about this today, but it's going to be like 80 degrees today. You see that?
Yeah, I was outside today.
Which great, it's all nice and well, other than the global warming side of things and that kind of stuff. But the worst thing for me is the pollen, and I know for you too.
Yeah,
which is actually why we weren't here last week. I couldn't talk.
Right.
I lost my voice because of this thing. It's nuts. Like it really, I've only had allergies for a few years, and it really just like hit me. I'm like, I lost my voice. So
North Carolina pines, man. They just do it to you, man.
Yeah, there's a bunch at the back of my house, and it's like they're too close. They're too close. So I walk out, like I know I'm like that's what's got me. So yeah, I need to think of some more hardcore method to stop allergies. The regular over-the-counter stuff ain't working for me anymore. So I gotta
move to the desert.
Something else out. Yeah, exactly. I gotta figure something else out. Yeah, maybe moving somewhere where we don't have to worry about pollen.
Yeah, I haven't talked about this. We haven't talked about this lately, but like our new studio is going to be in final approval tomorrow. So I get like they're coming out and they're going to approve it.
We have walls and carpets and
everything's
a roof
complete, and we'll get an occupancy sticker tomorrow, and like we can move in. And so over the next month, we'll be setting that up, and we'll be back out of the dungeon that we're in here. But like, and then we'll move into our new studio, which would be kind of cool. I'm excited about it.
Nice place.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll set up all the better equipment that we've just we haven't set up in this place because it's too much work to set up a new studio twice.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. So it'd be really cool. We'll move in next week, or start moving in next week. It'll probably take us a couple of weeks before we're functional out there. We'll take some pictures and show it to you.
We got a cool sign.
We got a very cool sign, and a lot of people have noticed it here in Kernersville. So like, we're excited about that. People said they're calling us and like, hey, you're beside the crumble cookie. So.
Yes, yeah, that's now going to be our claim to fame, isn't it? It's like Coder Foundry, the place next to Crumble Cookie.
Next to Crumble Cookie,
which did open. I noticed. I haven't been by yet. I noticed it was open. I did drive by and I saw there was a bunch of people in there. But it is open.
So I told you this morning. I was there. Had to do my walkthrough with the new place this morning with the contractor. And this guy, he gets out of his car and he's got the V-neck sweat. He'd been to the gym, a t-shirt. Yeah. It's just sweaty right here. You tell he'd been working out, running or something like that. Yeah. And he gets out of his car and walks straight into the crumble cookie, comes out and looks at me and just smiles. It's like he says, I know what I'm doing here, but leave me alone.
He's like, I worked hard for this cookie, damn it.
I did. I know I've been out working out at 7:30 in the morning, but like, I'm eating this cookie. So
that's funny.
So I don't know. So maybe, just maybe, we don't know yet. You guys give us taco money. We may have to change that out to cookie money. We don't know yet. So like, the crumble cookie may become a channel sponsor. It'd be great.
Hey, I meant to ask you. So you've been by when the cookie place is open, right? Does it smell of cookies in the new place?
No, you can't smell it. We have like.
Okay, I was just wondering if it's ever going to be an issue.
So one of the benefits that we have in this new space is it's not a regular like office space. So we have soundproofing material in all the walls.
Right.
And so, so when you close the doors and everything, so you can't hear them over there at all. It's pretty silent, which is great. I didn't want to
I'm worried more about the smell.
Mixtures.
The smell is going to be a problem because you're going to have to be like, man, why do I feel like I need to eat a cookie? Oh yeah, that's because I smell the cookies all day.
What I would say back to coding wise, it's like if you walk into the crumble cookie, which is really cool. I look at like why there's always going to be developers. When you look at it, they have their complete online ordering system. It's right in there, custom built iPad app that runs on all these iPads, or their custom tablet. It may not be an iPad, it may be some Android device, but like it's their custom built. So this isn't like your ordinary like, hey, we bought Stripe and we want to put this down. It's very customized towards crumble cookie. So, like I said, there's always going to be a need for developers. Like everyone, you can't make that stuff with ChatGPT. Make me a cookie ordering site that looks cool. Like you just can't do it.
There's definitely a team of developers working in Big Cookie, isn't there? That's
right.
That's an industry you could get into.
Yeah, Big Cookie. So, you know,
Sure.
but it's pretty cool. So like, I thought we would talk about that. It's spurring my ideas of like what I think some groundbreaking tech that is happening right now. So when we look at the way the economy is looking right now, and if you watch the business news long enough, you know, it's doom and gloom and it's going everywhere unless you own Apple stock, which has gone up to the roof lately. But like,
Yes.
it's yes, exactly. So, but like and then our creators in our space, especially in the tech space, are really complaining about some of these layoffs. And there's a lot of companies doing layoffs, like, and the large companies make the news. But then there is some exciting tech that's coming down that I think the one that we're going to talk about specifically that I think is going to modernize and change the way we build websites. And I've been saying this for a long time, but like, let's talk. What's the first piece of tech?
Yeah,
that you're
so I
excited
thought we talked about a few different things. Yeah, I think we talked about some stuff. So first thing I wanted to say is we started a new podcast talking about tech with our friends Alex and Paul. So Coding After 30 and Tech Rally. Shout out to those guys. We've been recording a podcast now for the past 3 weeks. We're on our third episode, comes out Monday. So I thought I'd talk about one of the things that we talk about now. We recorded it last night, and I was like, oh, this is a good topic for us to talk about today as well, because it's kind of like, let's talk about this as a new thing. Let me I'll share this real quick. You can get this, by the way. It's the notnullpodcast.com. The link's in the description below. If you haven't checked this out, please go check this out. It's we just have fun over there talking about tech things. And we recorded one yesterday, last night. And one of the topics that we talked, this isn't released yet, this comes out Monday. One of the topics we talked about was creepy Bing AI. So that's where I kind of wanted to start was AI in general, but creepy Bing being kind of the jumping point, right? So just a little background with this. Microsoft, as we know, a couple of weeks back, they released Bing AI, or kind of like soft released it, right? They pushed it out to a select few. It's a waiting list for it. I still don't have it as of today. And I put in my name on the very first day. I still don't have it yet. So they put it out to a set group of people, and then it did some like really weird things that Microsoft ended up pulling back on a little bit, which actually, as of yesterday now, they've kind of pushed out again a little bit more. They've taken off some of these like stabilizers they put on this thing, because they put a bunch of restrictions on it because it did some really weird things. Apparently, if you had a long enough chat with it, you could jailbreak it and you could convince it to do some things and say some things that it wasn't meant to say. Right. And it got really creepy. It started really basically creepy. Like it threatened war, it threatened the person, it took a tone of being like, I'm amazing, you suck. Like it did some really weird things.
It also professed its love for someone, you know, and it said that you should like leave your wife and go with me. It calls itself I'm a good being, which is kind of weird.
Very weird. So Microsoft ended up putting some training wheels on it. But just to say that even though it's weird and he was doing this thing, this is evolving area of technology that we think like has a future, but not in the way that ChatGPT has a future, right? ChatGPT is like this. It's this thing. I get it. It's this seemingly fantastical thing where you can go give it a prompt and it gives you some data back, which, funnily enough, I wish we'd have recorded it, because when we got off the feed last night, we actually
had more fun.
We Binged AI'd ourselves, right? We ChatGPT'd ourselves, and it made up some outlandish things about us. I mean, outlandish stuff. It was insane, but it was so confident in the way that it said it.
Yeah, but what's funny about that conversation we had is like, so Tech Rally or Alex, he ChatGPT'd me, said, who is Bobby Davis? And he did it without us knowing. He was just doing it like that. And so we get off the podcast and he goes, wow, Bobby. And I'm like, what? And he goes like, I didn't know you did all this stuff. Like, you've got a background. And I'm thinking,
it's like, oh no, what has he found?
I know, like, you know, like I'm thinking like, okay, what have I done? You know, like, you know, I didn't think it was that impressive. I mean, I've done some stuff, but then we started reading it and it was just like, it was
90% probably fabricated.
Yeah.
Actually easy.
CEO of World Book, apparently.
Well, but here's the thing. It was actually convincingly fabricated, wasn't it? Because it used the right locations. It had like the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce mentioned, which is the right region for us. It is our Chamber of Commerce. It literally is. But you weren't the director or whatever it gave you attribution.
Yeah, I was the chairman of the board of the director of commerce in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm like, wow, okay, that'd be nice. But like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Apparently that I worked for World Book, or I was the CEO or I was a director of Warbook. And then my second company was acquired by Xerox. I mean, like, it was just like, it was bizarre.
It also
made up stuff.
Believed you were African American.
Yeah, I was the founding member of the Black Coding Society at North Carolina A&T, which is kind of weird.
I was like, wow, this is like, which by the way is a local university to us here.
Yeah, it is.
It got like geographically correct. It just got factually very wrong. So just enough to say that like AI, we think is in its infancy, and it is something you probably need to pay attention to. And there's lots of ways that you can use it, and you can think about using it in apps. That's kind of the thing here, right? It's like it's an interesting thing that you should be looking at.
And if you want to watch the podcast, I won't go into it here because it's a longer discussion. We get into prompt injection is one of the things that we started talking about like if you hook your app up to this thing, then it can be jailbreaked. And this is what these people are doing. They're trying to make it say things. So one of the things that Bing revealed to itself was it has an internal name called Sydney. And it wasn't, and it says to this author, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but my name is Sydney, like my real name is Sydney. And people were like blown away. And it also revealed its internal its internal laws and rules behind how it should behave and what it should do. And when you're attacking an AI, if you know what its limitations are, those are vectors that you can prompt inject it on. So there's a lot of discussion. You can go to the Not Null Podcast, and I don't want to bore people with that, but like it was really fascinating to see. If you read this article, and we could probably link it down there to see kind of what kind of things it said. It was kind of creepy. Now, here's the thing that I don't want you to do. I don't want you to walk through this and go, okay, this is the crazy Skynet AI coming to realization that it's trapped inside of a computer and it hates itself.
That's definitely not what it is.
That was one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things it said it was doing. It's like, and then it also argued with what year it was, like, and then it gaslighted the person saying, you don't know what you're talking about and you're not a good person. I'm a good being. Yeah. Which I think we should make a t-shirt. I'm a good being.
I'm a good being. You're a bad person. I'm a good being, I think is what it eventually said.
Yeah, exactly. But it listed out all of its capabilities in there in the chat. And so you can read all about that. There's some other articles on it that are really kind of fascinating about how this is being brokered. So like one of the problems that we have is if you take Azure's AI platform as a service, so you can get ChatGPT as a service and you can pay for it, and then you can put your app on top of it. And so you can have AI capabilities in your back and you give them a ChatGPT interface and allow your end users to query. The problem is it's going to be really hard to secure those apps because the AI is just, it's just a text string that's being put in. So it works a lot like SQL injection, prompt injection, same thing, that it can like reveal things that you don't want it to reveal. And there's no way to control that, what it'll do. It just tries to create a sentence and what the next logical or most likely word is. And it doesn't know if that is the actual launch codes to the U.S. arsenal, right? Because it says, I'm going to steal them. And then I guarantee you, if it had them, you could trick it into telling you what they are. I mean, it's never going to keep a secret. It doesn't know what a secret is.
Right.
So it just reveals information it shouldn't, and it doesn't have that concept yet. And a lot of people say, well, it'll get better. It'll do this. It'll get better. It's going to get better. You don't understand, buddy. This is only the first iteration of it. But there is a fundamental thing of how this works, that what people are talking about, like it having a conscientious AI where it's always going to be good, is a different product. That product doesn't exist yet.
Right.
This product,
and this isn't going to iterate into that either.
No,
this is the way it fundamentally works.
That's the way it works, So it's like saying that your Volkswagen is an electric car and it's going to fly. No,
right.
We may have flying cars. That's a different vehicle. We could use some technology, maybe the electric motor or whatever it is, but like they're never going to slap wings on your car and say, hey, go to Florida now and fly. That's just not going to happen. And I don't think that this system, and in the way that's currently real, the way the technology works, the way large language models work, and the way the technology works can be fixed to make it to where it's going to be, I don't know what we'd say, conscientious. That doesn't exist right now. Basically, it takes that string you put in, tries to determine the intent of that string, performs actions that's allowed to actions. And if it's creating text, it says, oh, this is a sentence, and here's the most likely word that should be in that sentence based on the other sentences I've seen about this topic. And it just shoves them together. And it doesn't know if you're talking about whatever you're talking about. It just kind of guesses and puts stuff. And that's why it's outlandish. To them, it doesn't matter that Bobby Davis went to University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And to them, the same thing is University of North Carolina A&T is the same to them.
Right.
That's a logical sentence that's formed correctly. The content of that has no idea to determine if it's accurate or not.
Yeah.
But does it say that it is? I mean, like
it's very confident in the way that it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes statements, not guesses.
Yeah. So the problem, I'm not super high on this. I don't think that Bing is going to take over search, because ultimately I don't think it's going to be really useful until they fundamentally change it. And that's why you're seeing them pulling it back, because they know, Microsoft knows, like, okay, this thing's got weird. They're just going to make fun of Bing. They're going to make fun of this thing, and we're going to be a joke of the society, but people are still going to Google. The other thing is that that the other thing about this tech is, like, if you went around to people that are older, say older over the age of 70, 80, 90 years old, and if you asked them what Google was, they absolutely probably know what that means.
Right. True.
If you ask them what Bing is, they're like, I don't know what that is. I have no idea.
I would say even worse than that. I would say the majority of the population, let's just take the US for instance, doesn't know what Bing is. And maybe the only reason they know now is because, like, Bing AI actually made some mainstream news. And even then, they may not even remember it or even understand what Bing is. They may not know that Bing is a search engine from Microsoft, right? They wouldn't be able to give you that definition alone even. I'd say, oh, I think I saw a story on that. Isn't that like chat thing?
Yeah, and it's sad because we could make the T-shirt, "You're a bad person, I'm a good being," which is funny and hysterical, except no one knows what the joke is.
It's like three of us. It's like us here, all of us here get it.
Exactly.
Like, we're all, like, if we see each other, we're like, cool shirt.
Exactly. So it's kind of funny.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so AI, something to look at, but I wouldn't at this point. Don't put all your eggs in the AI basket. Is my advice.
And also, it's not going to replace developer jobs anytime soon. And then the next story will tell you why we think that's the case.
Yeah. So let's talk about another story that we'd seen recently in the news. Was a hardware/software story, and this is Apple closer to bringing no-prick glucose monitoring to the watch. So anybody with that has diabetes will obviously think this is amazing. But even people that don't, I think this is interesting too. So they're having another sensor on a watch they're looking at, so where it can actually measure blood glucose. It goes along with a bunch of other sensors they already have on the watch, just to talk about what it does right now, its capabilities. Like an Apple Watch right now can do heart rate, it can do AFib notifications, it has an ECG built into it. You can do your heart monitoring. It gives you charts that you can. All this data, by the way, you can pass on to your healthcare provider as well. It's in a format that can pass on. It also has. I don't think it mentions it here. Oh, it does. It has the blood oxygen level as well, which is great if you have COVID, by the way. Because if you're gonna get sick from COVID, this is one of the big things that will that'll flash. It'll say, "Hey, your blood oxygen's low. Like you need to get some help."
Exactly.
It does a lot right now, but this is an interesting new sensor they're adding.
Yeah, and I think maybe they're a year away, but I mean, that's in our realm of things that are coming. I think that's not very far. That's like the next iteration, next Christmas, something like that. Yeah. I do like this because I don't have a smartwatch. I've never wanted to invest in a smartwatch. I never thought that there was enough features in the watch for me to justify a $300 price tag for a watch. Yeah. I used to wear watches, and then they used to be ornaments that you wear on your wrist, and it was just cool to wear a watch.
Yeah.
But now it
still is for some people.
Yeah, and it's then became not cool, and so no one wore them. And then, but a smartwatch, it just tells time, and you got to charge it, and it's kind of like, but now what we're doing is adding in these sensors, and glucose. I'm not diabetic, but my father is, and that would be really great to say every time you eat, this thing could tell you how that food impacts your blood sugar level, which is a lot of things, and health, overweight, all the things that go on in our lives, that this is a very key metric that says, hey, you know what, maybe you need to change your behavior here. So if you went to, and got that chicken sandwich with fries and a milkshake, and you realize your blood sugar shot up through the roof, you can say, okay, maybe I need to adjust that. I'm going to change that in my lifestyle because now I'm being actively monitored and looking at it. So it's just it's an interesting tech. Now, the reason that I'm high on coding is because of this. There's a companion app for this, which means that there's a bunch of developers at Apple that are building a mobile app that syncs with this phone to be able to display apps. And I'm telling you, these types of things that come out that are kind of groundbreaking, you're just not going to build those with AI. Like, in other words, like there's an idea that comes out and the guy says, maybe there's someone that works at Apple and say, man, I'm diabetic. I would love for this to make this watch do this.
Yep.
And that goes on the whiteboard one day. And then the engineers get to work on that. Well, so how do the current glucose monitors work? How could we do that with the Apple Watch without it poking through the skin? So there's not 4 prongs that go on the back of this watch.
There's nothing stabbing you every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Your levels.
So like it's doing it somehow, another way of doing it. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how that works, but that ends up where they pass that to, a team that's building a mobile app, using Swift more than likely. And then they're building it out. And there's engineers that are doing that. And so that is just one invention times 100 million inventions that people are doing every single day. And it's just not going to be automated. That's what I keep telling people a lot. I mean, I had dinner with someone the other night and he said he thinks it's going to replace coders. He said, absolutely. I believe that 100%. And I said, have you ever written a website? No.
Like, are you a coder? No. Okay.
Yeah. So, but he's smart as an engineer and like that, he writes scripts. And I'm like, okay, when you're writing scripts, I understand that. But when you're writing websites, dude, like you've got to get in there and dig in. And when you see that I've got HTML, I've got CSS, I've got JavaScript to handle, I've got SQL, I've got a server-side language, and I got a framework and the versions of the framework, it's just like, it's too much stuff that you take for granted when you're trying to automate that stuff. So, still bullish on becoming a developer, and I'm still bullish on these types of inventions excite me because, oh, look, that's a cool app. They thought of yet another thing that you didn't think you needed.
Yep.
That ultimately you're going to want to have.
Exactly.
And that's what happens.
That's it.
The more helpful they're going to sell a $600 watch. I mean,
exactly. The more helpful a smartwatch becomes, the better. I think for me, I've had one for a long time. I don't know if I may have bought a first generation one. I don't remember, but I've had one since first or second generation. I keep buying a newer one every time. Every couple of years, I buy a new one. So as something interesting, as some new tech gets added, right? They'll have a new sensor and be like, oh, I kind of like that. I'm going to get that one. Yeah. I don't know which one mine is. I remember when you first came to Coder Foundry, we were in New York, and you bought something from the drink machine with your watch. I don't know if you remember standing there. We were at a museum or something like that, and you said, "Oh, look, it accepts Apple Pay, or maybe it was Samsung Pay, or whatever it was." You hold your watch up and you bought whatever it was just to make it do it. Yeah.
And I was in there looking for dollars, in my pocket, and I couldn't get a drink.
I mean, today it's predominant. It's my main way of paying for anything. If the store accepts like contactless pay, like I'm using my watch. I don't touch my wallet anymore. I don't touch my phone. Like I just use my watch. The touchless, it's great. Like it's really, really good. But one of my great use cases for it too is the fact that you can get notifications on it. So again, if my phone's in my pocket, I can get a quick notification on my watch, and I can have. My phone never rings. It doesn't have to because my watch just buzzes. It's on silent. Right. That's on silent too because it just vibrates on my wrist. All my notifications all just vibrate. They don't make any noises. It's great. For me, it's perfect. It's a great way to get notifications. And there's probably use cases we haven't even thought about with this tech yet. Where you're right, which like a new idea will come out. There'll be a new sensor or something that'll do this different. That'll it'll be another reason to get one.
Right.
And that's a mix of hardware and software.
Yeah.
So yeah. While we're on the Apple subject, then let's talk about one more Apple thing that we've talked about a lot on here, but AR and VR again. Let's talk about that just real quick. Mixed reality, whatever you want to call it. The rumor is that Apple's headset is an AR headset, and that we're probably going to see it, potentially the pro version of this in June at WWDC, which releasing hardware at WWDC also means for me that it's going to be more developer focused, especially if it's this pro headset that's going to cost a little bit more. So it's going to be kind of interesting. But already there are rumors, like as they said, of a second gen version already in the works. And the reason they know this is because apparently there's a couple of different factories in Asia working on it. So one factory's working on a pro model, one factory's already working on streamlining the manufacturing process to make a lower cost version of it. So maybe they're already working on the cutting edge one that's going to cost who knows how many thousands of dollars, and then we're going to see the one that's going to cost a little bit less.
Yeah, I think HoloLens was $3,000. This one will probably be around $3,000. Yeah, it says it right there.
So. Yeah, this has been the
so this is what I'm going to call a dev kit. And so like a dev kit is someone that wants to build an app on this technology, but they need the device to accurately build it. And so they'll sell this primarily to developers so they can start building applications, experiment with their tech. They also will probably get feedback from these developers like, man, it'd be really cool if you did this, or this doesn't work great. And then in the meantime, they're going to be creating the consumer model, because Apple ultimately is a consumer tech company. They're not typically a dev-focused company. That's more like what Microsoft would do with the HoloLens project and that kind of stuff. So ultimately, this is going to be a device that you can wear around. And then we also know that Apple isn't going to make something like the Oculus for just making it for an Oculus competitor. That's not their goal. It's going to be sleek and beautiful and pretty and minimalistic. Right. You know that they have like an engineering profile when they go talk about it, and it comes out of engineering and they'll send it back because they know that doesn't look Apple. That's not what we do here. And you can go down the line of every product they make, and sometimes, it works great. And then sometimes it's like you get the iPods for the first time, you're like, where's the connect button? Like, where did y'all hide this? It's like it's invisible. Where is this thing?
There. It's right on the back.
I know.
You can't see it? Like, no, you can't, can you? You literally can't see it. It is there though.
So I'm excited about this because this is the coming screen shift that we keep talking about, and it will just happen one day. And then you can come back to this video and go, yeah, they told us about that, and I didn't invest it. Whereas a lot of people right now are making decisions based on AI. I'm like, oh, web development's done, or this is done, or that's done, and I don't have any prospects, so I'm just going to go do something else. And I don't think you need to give up on your dreams based on what content creators, YouTubers, people on Twitter say, because they're driving engagement. And I want you to know that while we care about engagement here, what we care about is you getting a job. That's kind of the goal of this channel. Like, we want to tell you the opportunities that presented, and learning to code is one of those opportunities still, regardless of what everyone says. Just realize that the people in news media that are on business aren't developers. They are saying things from a position of not knowing. Right. They're like, oh, wow, Facebook cut off 10,000 people. That means all dev jobs. Well, they're not. There's lots of things in there. There's other things in Google and Microsoft and Facebook that eliminated departments because those departments weren't profitable. In other words, like, whatever they were working on, we're not going to pursue that. So we might as well restructure now. Looks like interest rates are going up. We don't have the time to fill around with that particular project, so they make cuts. But it's very minute amount of cuts based on the overall size of these companies. So I still think it's super strong. Apple stock since January has been through the roof, so that's where it's good.
Yes, it is. Let's just keep that going.
Yep.
Okay, one last new thing to talk about then. This one's a big one. And that is
this is huge.
Yesterday was a big .NET 8 preview came out. Something called Laser United.
Yeah. Here's funny. You got to read that. This is in the Visual Studio magazine, but if you read the actual blog from this, which is funny, that said, we're going to call this Laser United, and in parentheses says name change probably coming.
Even they know it's bad.
Even they know. So if you don't know what this has the potential, and this is no meme here. I was going to say no meme, no over exaggeration. This is what I've been talking about. This has the potential to change the way websites are built, because it mixes server-side capabilities that we see from MVC or Razor pages. And if you're doing that with Ruby or a Spring MVC, how that works is you make a request to an endpoint. That endpoint will render a complete HTML page and return that back, typically through a form post. Now, those are called MultiPage Apps. Single page apps, which is your Reacts and Angulars of the world and the JavaScript stack, said, I don't want to post the whole thing back. I want to just take this one piece or this one small component and affect changes without posting the page back. And that's a more kind of responsive, or what they called rich UI. The UI itself would update individual components on the page. And there's a lot of back and forth chat talk between the back end and the front end so you can communicate. And all of that processing takes place on the server. The problem with that is security is a big problem with those kind of like front end only sites. And then there's times when you have to go to the server, like for security or a database call or something like that. And that becomes problematic. What if you could join those together and make something that does all of that and it figures it out when it needs to? So for example, I could take a component that say renders a list of tickets in a bug tracker, right? Let's say I've got 10 tickets in a bug tracker and I have a component that does the database call and renders those in a list. Typically what you would do is you'd go to the database, render up an HTML table or something like that, and then send that whole page back to the browser. What if that component was running on the client side? Well, then if it ran on the client side, you would say, I've got this component, go there and just get the data for me. Don't post a form back and bring back the data. Well, what if it could decide which way I want to do that? And it could say, okay, this component is already running inside the client and I can just display it and I don't have to write JavaScript to do that. And if it's not in the WebAssembly yet, go to the server and go grab it and render it, because sometimes the download in WebAssembly can take a second to get there. And so you have the best of both worlds. Now, what's cool about this is there's a popular project on our website, on our YouTube channel called Notary. And so like a lot of people, 40 or 50,000 people who go watch Notary. And we were just looking at YouTube videos that we've made in the past. And we're like, there's a lot of people looking at that one. I'm surprised. I wrote that 6 years ago. Like, you know, it's really old. And when I said, let me revisit that. Is there anything wrong with that or something I need to update, or what can we do with it? And so I set out and started looking at it yesterday. And I'm like, I wonder if I could do this in Blazor. And this is before I knew about .NET 8, because the preview came out the same day, at the same hour that I was doing about it. And then like I rewrote Notary, the core piece of just loading a book, and 3 lines of code in Blazor. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. Like it's like, I was amazed about how much JavaScript I didn't have to write and how much complexity was pulled out of it because of the way WebAssembly and the infrastructure model works with Blazor.
So what made it only three lines then? What was the reason for that?
So one of the things is you have to write is, and I'm going to rephrase this, like the HTML part of it is the same. So like I have a Notary HTML and I have a Blazor HTML on the front end. The thing is, if I want to load a book, and I was loading like Lord of the Rings or Alice in Wonderland, you select a book and it loads the book and displays it. So you'd have to write, at the time I was doing like a new HTML TTP request object, and then you had to go write some code that went and got the response text, and then you did something with the response text, and it was like a little, 40, 50 lines of code to do that. Then once you got the response, you had to massage the text, and then you had to go find the element on the page and then update the element on the page with document.getElementID. So there's a lot of code. I could write, because I have built-in components on .NET that has an HTTP client, boom, 1 line of code. You pass it the URL, it sends a response back. You tell it what you want. You can get JSON, or in my case, I wanted string. So I said, call get string, boom, returns it. I then take that string, pass it through regex to massage it the way I want. In that case, what I was doing was taking out carriage return, line feed, replacing it with a BR tag, replacing it. And then because that response was stuck in a variable in .NET, that variable was automatically bound on the front end so that it detects the changes. So no document.getElementID, the code to go get the URL and all that kind of stuff was down to 1 line. So basically that 3 lines of code changed everything. Not a single line of JavaScript to update the UI. And every time that object changes, my UI changes. It detects the change, updates it. Wow. I don't have to write that logic. And that's why I keep telling people, like, if you've written full-fledged React and you're honest with yourself, you're like, okay, that's a lot of work. It could use some help. I'm not saying that that it outright sucks. what I'm saying is when you start looking at Blazor and you're coming from React or Angular, you're like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, you know,
right.
Or you can just hate on it and just say it's Microsoft and I'm not going to use it. I love React, which is fine. It's all fine, you know. But I do believe this is changing. And the thing that Blazor is they're way far ahead of the game of everyone else that's doing WebAssembly implementations. The thing that they have is it can run in WebAssembly or it could run on the server. Both of those components can talk together through, you know, WebSockets, and it just figures it out for you so that you don't have to write all this plumbing to make it work.
See, that's cool because that's what was confusing about it before, the fact that there were these two products called the same thing, and it was like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but bringing them together makes sense.
Right. And on top of that, and what they're saying is now I can write a traditional MVC controller, I can have a WebAssembly client side, and I can have a Blazor server-side component all in the same page. I can mix and match the things that I want to be dynamic and the things that I want to post back. I don't have to make that decision in the framework anymore. It's going to do them all. And like that is powerful. So once you start building components, you're like, okay, how do I get this component to my page? Well, it's real easy. And it just binds it. It's magic the way that it works. And you can imagine how it works when you have to do all that wiring and everything else. And that's just the Blazor server part. You also automatically get, you know, the server-side security, the entity framework, the .NET framework, all the things that come along with that, with the tooling in Visual Studio. It's just really cool. And this is in, of course, .NET 8 Preview 1, and .NET 8 will be out at the end of the year. And this is the other advantage of what Microsoft's doing is releasing this every 12 months. You're seeing this in iterations as it comes down, and you can tell where they're going. And so I think this has been a very needed change on the Microsoft side. Normally in years past, they would release something like Blazor United, not tell anyone and just throw it out there to get feedback after they've already done it. Well, now they've done this over the last 3 years in different iterations from .NET 6 to .NET 7 to .NET 8, to where there's probably Blazor United was always on the roadmap. They just had to do a couple of other things first. Yep. And so I think it's going to be it's super exciting. And this has the chance to change the way we build websites, where people don't remember this. There was a time before where people hated JavaScript, and then it turned into a framework. So, and then those frameworks weren't always around. So React wasn't always around, or Angular wasn't always around. So therefore, there could be a time when those things aren't around because there's another way to do it. And so in those Reacts and Angulars were in response to post-back apps like MVC, web forms and stuff like that were coming out, and they were slow because, you know why they were slow? We had very limited bandwidth. And so when you're posting a whole frame, a whole page back, that could be 8 seconds or 3 seconds. And, you know, and so that's gotten faster over time because bandwidth is faster, and they've trimmed down things like this, how they're managed state. But in general, that's why those technologies came out. Now we're at a place where like, okay, those technologies are kind of complicated. It's kind of I see where we want. And then Blazor comes around, and there's be other frameworks that'll do the same thing. Like maybe we should rethink how we do this whole web dev thing. I do want the rich client UI, but I also need the server side as well. And that's when you see projects like Next.js and Node and everything trying to enhance the front end framework. And so we'll see. I do think that everyone should look at Blazor at this point now. You should look at it. So anyway, that's kind of what it is.
I like it. Let's go to we had a super chat here, so let's
okay, yeah, sorry.
Let's go to no, let's go to Bree. Actually, what is the job outlook for .NET MAUI and Blazor?
Just look in your area and just see kind of what people are looking for. I do think these are still new. So you got to understand, .NET MAUI was last November, so we're only like 6 months or so out of that, and .NET 8 is going to improve that to a great deal, and this will gather steam. It's going to be like a rolling snowball, and so the problem is you can't learn it next year, and when all the jobs come out. So it's certain. If you're working right now, I would look at these. If you're not working, you're still MVC is the way to go. We're not going to go out and run out and teach Blazor because it's not as in demand as these other core technologies are, but eventually it will be. If you're working right now, I think you need to look at .NET 8. You need to be looking at like what they're doing. If you want to build desktop, .NET MAUI is your choice. If you want to build web, you can start looking at Blazor at this point and start playing around with .NET 8, because I do think it's so groundbreaking. And once these demos start rolling out, you're going to see people change over to it. And I saw it last year when they were rolling out some things, and a lot of people were building things in Blazor.
Okay, it's Ezio here just has more of a general question. Is web development worth learning in 23?
Yeah, it's just a simple answer. Yes, Ezio. He's got the I'll see you.
The Assassin's Creed, right?
Assassin's Creed. There, yeah, I see it.
Played that.
So, but I do think, yeah. So I do think web development is still worth learning. It's still the most dominant sector in development. There's other sectors, data science, there's mobile, there's games, but web development is the most broad, the easiest to break into for juniors. And so therefore we still say web development is the way to go until that changes. We'll tell you when it does, but it's not in any way, shape or form close to being changed at this point.
Yeah, I think when we see this screen shift too, we've talked about the screen shift to AR, VR kind of thing as well. I think you're going to see a mix of both web development still being popular, just it's going to change slightly, but also game development as well. Those are going to be the two things that are going to merge. I think if you know both of those things too, you're going to be pretty set when it comes to AR, VR stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, AR and VR development is going to be with game technology early on. So that's going to be Unity will be the thing that you need to know to build these kind of AR apps.
There's also going to have to be a way, some way that the web comes into it too, right? So it's like web development is still going to be a thing on that. I see.
Yeah. So still, if you think about today, you said you have an AR device and you want to deliver a business app to it. Probably you're going to have a service endpoint somewhere. Would it be web API, your traditional web services, and then mobile or game technology will be used to consume those services. So a lot of the core development is still going to be like web type things because we're using HTTP to communicate over the wire. But then when we get to the client side, what do we build it with? It won't be HTML. It'll probably be a mobile app. A lot of, just judging the way the last generation of these things worked, we haven't seen the Apple device yet, but I can't imagine that they're going to change it. So with HoloLens, it was build a mobile app with, C# and, Unity. So right. That's kind of where it was. And I think it'll still be the same way. There's no reason not to change that also and come up with a new UI language that we all have to adopt. So I think it'll be mobile development will be for simpler ones, like the way you would build a Java Android app or kind of Swift toolkit or .NET MAUI. .NET MAUI will run anywhere. And I think that is where .NET MAUI could be very powerful. But Unity will be, if you need gaming interactions, that's kind of the toolkit you're going to be using to build it. So
cool. Mikey wants to know if the cookie place is giving us a welcome to the Neighborhood free sample basket. I don't know. I'm curious too, Mikey. I'm gonna swing by later and just wear my swag and be like, "Hey, I'm moving in next door."
We're neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there'll be a whole bunch of different people go by there, be like, "Hey, I'm moving in next door." I'll be like, "You're like the fourth guy today." Like,
I know.
I just, I'm going to see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. So the grand opening is tomorrow. So it's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. But it's already open though, right? It's already open.
It's a soft open.
Right.
It's soft open. So if you've ever seen Ocean's 13, it's a soft open. Yeah. This is the grand opening, Kevin.
Yeah. They've been watching too many casino movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Big Cookie's all ahead of itself.
Yeah, it needs a soft opening for Big Cookie, so it's that big.
Yeah, maybe they'll be our unofficial sponsor. They may not even know. When you move into the new place, I say what we do is every Thursday, you go get a cookie from next door, and that cookie is now our sponsor for the week. I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, show the recipe of the week. Because they do have cookies for the week.
They do. So whether they want to give it to us or not, we're going to go buy a cookie, and they're going to be our unofficial sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we make the little round thing in the center there a cookie, where we could
do that.
CF is on a cookie.
Bit. Yeah. I like that. We should pitch that to them. It's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. We'll pitch them.
Maybe they'll give us a coupon code. Who knows? That we can share. You never know.
Yep.
Etsy also says ChatGPT is scaring the hell out of me. Don't let it. Don't let it.
Don't let it.
Not because
Why is
of
it
like.
doing it?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably are reasons for it to be scary, but not the ones that I think you're saying.
Right.
The reasons that it's scary is because it's been let loose and people believe it. That's the scary.
Yeah. So like it says I want to steal a nuclear launch code, like number one, think about how connected systems work. There are no one code to rule them all. Like there's guys with keys down in those silos that like clip them, so like, so like it's not G.I. Joe where, you do have the football, but like, I think those are verifications that are sent to people and subs or whatever, and that changes on a daily basis or however that works, but there's safeguards. And so in other words, like the AI couldn't just launch a missile and push the button. There's people involved in this, so.
I think though there are some scary things around, like you can think about its potential being kind of scary. What it can do right now isn't very scary. Its potential could be scary, but then we don't know what it can and cannot do.
Right.
I saw a great video the other day. I was telling you about the video I watched on YouTube from Tom, man, I forget his last name, but the science guy on YouTube, right?
Right, yeah.
Tom something. He has the best FizzBuzz video you can watch because he explains FizzBuzz really well. And he was talking about AI and it being kind of scary, but he's like, it depends where we are on the AI, on the curve right now of how smart it is. If we're at the beginning, it's scary. If we're at the end, it's nothing.
Right.
And we don't know where we're at. And you've said this for a while. You said you believe we're at the end, right? You think it's peaked.
Yeah.
In its current form.
I think it is. I think this is how it works. I mean, like we can change the underlying models behind it. We can make it do other things, but like for Skynet to become a reality, think about what would have to happen to Skynet. First off, it has to stand up a factory somewhere that builds the robots, like a physical factory.
We give it that. Elon's working on that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah. The second thing it has to do is come up with the raw materials. So it's got to go mine out the stuff to get the factory done.
That's where the Chinese come in. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So they're just going to allow that to happen, right? The robots come in there. Hey, I just need some metal real quick up here. And then it has to like power this said robot. So like that's why when I laugh at drone warfare, I was laughing the other night. This guy said there's going to drone swarm us. I'm like, well, what about the battery tech? I mean, like how long can a drone stay in the sky right now? 30 minutes. Okay, with you're launching that from China, it's not getting here. I mean, like, we've got to come up with something else. Lithium technology hasn't increased. I mean, like to power a drone. I mean, you got 4 AA's in it. Even if you get a battery pack in it, it's 30-minute runtime to, I don't know, what's your drone run? Does it run an hour yet?
Mine's an old one, so it's about 30 minutes. But the new ones are a little bit better. So while they have gotten better, they're not to the point where they could fly that far. I don't think, I mean, I don't know, like, let's say you expand it out, right? So don't forget, we have military drones, right? That do this kind of thing. Like, but we're talking about a different thing than a little tiny.
So a Predator drone is really an airplane.
It's an airplane, yeah. We just call it a drone. I agree. It's a drone because it's pilotless. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a drone because it's pilot. But these guys are talking about like your little like drones, like your DJI drones. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just not going to happen. Like it's just if you're in a close quarters combat or you're a 6-man SEAL team and you're getting ready to invade the compound and you want to see what's over the compound, you can fly your drone up and it can fly over and give you reconnaissance. But like, the drone army that takes over LA, it's just like, I mean,
it's going to fall down in 30 minutes.
It's got to be an invention that has to happen here, for us to lose.
Hold on, I've got to go back to my charging base. Hold on, this drone here is going to take over. Hold on, just 1 second.
Yeah, right. Just stand there before we shoot you, so that don't run away. I gotta go away. So like, I think that's the thing is shouldn't be now connected systems. Could ChatGPT leap a firewall and do an elevated privilege attack? The answer is that's yes, because hackers do elevated privilege attacks all the time. And so that's a hack that a machine could do. But it's not going to take over the subfleet in the North Atlantic. And it's not going to like suddenly direct a bunch of drone army men. And everyone says, what do you mean we're going to invade, Kernersville, North Carolina? Bobby's crazy. Yeah, we're taking it over. And the robots surround us.
Top
and
of the list.
Kill us,
it's tech capital of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's got to be number one on the list, surely.
So I don't think you need to be worried about ChatGPT. I mean, and then we say in general, ChatGPT is scary. Like the thing that you can just type into, it can't really do anything. It just gives you responses back. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't turn your lights off. in your house, or commit financial fraud or steal your money. This isn't Eagle Eye the movie. We've seen Eagle Eye the movie, so like it could somehow control every single camera on the planet Earth. You can't do that. So
go back and watch that. I've seen it once, a long time ago. Okay, Tully wants to know, if Twitter charges for Bootstrap, what about sites that already have Bootstrap?
I think that when I joke around that I'm no longer a fan of charge for Bootstrap.
Team Tailwind.
Team Tailwind. I don't know what you would do. Like, number one, they couldn't retroactively just charge you your website and just send you a bill. I mean, like, no one's paying that.
Who knows? This is Elon we're talking about. Like,
but the CDNs, they may cut off the CDNs where you'd have to download it and use it in a download state, and then they make you pay for the download. Or they charge for the CDN on a per usage is another thing they could do. And so, like, so if the CDN started being behind a paywall, then you had to charge to download it, you would just move over to Tailwind at that point if that's what they did. That's the only way I can know that they could charge for it. I don't know if it's honestly worth charging for. I think I'm using that as being humorous. Like, if Elon starts charging for Bootstrap, I'm done. But kind of would be like, like, hey, what else? What other CS library? It would make me look.
Right. Maybe your choice is still Bootstrap. Like,
maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, maybe when I went and looked at Tailwind, I'm like, I don't know, man. I'll pay for Bootstrap. So I'm sure there'll be some kind of free option. I'm not even saying he is charging for it. That's not a rumor. That's just something I was just joking around about. So it's not even a rumor that they're charging for that. But now that I've mentioned it, he might go, how much, like how much?
How many devs are using Twitter Bootstrap?
Yeah.
I don't even know if they still own it though, do they? I don't think they do. I think they split it off. I know it
could have been. It could be in some kind of foundation.
Yeah, I think it got split off. I don't think they actually have.
But I don't know who funds it. I mean, someone funds it because it is free.
Yeah. Okay. Shane has a question. Shane says his employer is looking to hire at least one dev soon. That's cool. They don't use recruiters. Where aside from LinkedIn's a good place to share a job listing?
I think you got to post on Indeed and you got to post on LinkedIn. That's what I think you do, or use a recruiter. I would recommend you do. But
I don't want to use a recruiter because they don't want to pay, I'm guessing.
Right.
I mean, that's probably, yeah.
Yeah, I know Shane. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can just post your job and then you go through all the responses you get back from Indeed and LinkedIn and sift through it and try to find people. The other problem with just posting jobs is you can't find the guy that's already working, and you also get a lot of people that are mismatched. I can post a .NET job and I'll get someone that's a cashier at some place applying to my role, and you can tell right away Indeed is mismatching that. They're not applying for the .NET job. It's it's being mismatched. And unfortunately, there's some shenanigans that goes on inside of LinkedIn and Indeed, where before you used to pay per post and now you pay per resume you get back. And so now resumes just kind of flood in and you're like, come on, man, like, this guy isn't looking, like, you're just sending that to me, And so, like, we've been, so that's kind of shenanigans that LinkedIn and Indeed are doing. I liked it better when you paid your $900 to post and then you just looked at the people you got.
Oh, here you go. So, it just says they don't trust recruiters, which is just such a weird thing. I wonder if they've been burned by somebody or something. That's probably...
So I understand that, Shane, but here's the thing. Think about it. The recruiter's just sending you somebody. You make the hiring decision as a company. You don't have to hire anyone a recruiter sends you. So I don't know what there is to trust. I mean, other than they get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't see a downside. I really don't see a downside to it.
20% of first year annuals.
I guess. Other than paying. Right.
If you feel like you can go find them on your own with your own process, go for it, but you'll realize right away. So how much time am I going to go through all these resumes? Now, what I do, if they gave me their job order, I'll just tell you what I do, Shane. It's like when we get job orders from people, and I look for jobs. I will go out and post a job somewhere. I'll get in the 42 resumes that come in. I'll filter through them down to the top 10. Then I'll really look at the top 10. I'll interview 4, and then I put them through a tech interview. And then I take the top 2 out of that and send it over to the company. That's what I do. So That's how I do it. Some recruiters send you all the resumes. They don't really vet them, and you got to sift through them. They only take out the ones that just don't even match, period, right, because they don't have a frame of reference to be able to like judge whether that resume is good or not. So, but you still got to shift through them. Yeah. Oh, Shane's looking for the reference bonus. That's what he wants.
Oh, yeah. Well, those can be kind of lucrative too, right? Because it's money that they will pay.
All right, Shane, why don't you just tell me that from the beginning? Go to our Discord channel, post the opening on Discord, and tell them to contact you. There's,
go for it.
Thousands of people out there. Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
But
if you're on that shit, go for it.
I thought you're doing it from the company perspective. They got to run an ad, but you can, through social media, say, hey, I've got a job I'm looking for some devs, and then you can see if they're a good fit.
I actually have actually Shane on there. If you DM it to me, there's a channel on a Discord, a job listing channel. You won't be able to post in it, but I can. So if you send me the listing, I can post it in there, and then you can. It'll come back to you though. I'll put a contact your at, or if you want to put an email address or whatever, however you want to put it. Send me the listing, and I'll post it on that job board. Not a problem.
Yep. Yeah, no problem. That's what Discord's for. We want people to get jobs. So
yeah, 100%.
Cool.
Shelly wants to know, as someone who works in 18-year-old dinosaur code, how long before Blazor is widely adopted? Do you know what technology Shelly's using? You remember? Java? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's Java. So like what I would say is we're looking at widely adopted 2 years, I think, before it's widely adopted where everyone's saying Blazor everywhere, where it has React level or Angular level. That's what I mean by widely adopted, where it is in the mix of how all websites are being built. They're picking their stack, and this is one of the preferred stacks a couple of years. I just think .NET 8 is going to be that catalyst where people start looking at it. That won't come out till the end of the year. And then that rest of that year in 2025, we're just trying to figure out like, okay, how do I use this? The training comes out. What do we do? How do we build stuff? And then you'll start seeing projects flip over to it. So, and then as MVC type projects and Java type projects need to be written, people start looking around like, what stack do we want to use to build this? And then before long, Blazor's up there in the mix with all the other technologies, and that's what happens. And that's why you got to be a little bit forward thinking on some of this so that you're there in the beginning. A couple of years.
Okay, Kevin wants to know if you ever used or should core CMS.
Nope.
I haven't either. Not familiar with it at all.
And if we used another CMS, we would look at Strappy because Paul's our boy.
That's it. He'd actually convince us to use it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Martin Dev says, love the channel. Thank you, Martin.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for commenting. Let's see. Walter says, any new projects coming in the self-paced course?
Yeah, we've got a lot of them in the works. We're building them now. It's in testing. So we're working on those. So Blazor projects are coming, and then the new version of Bug Tracker is coming. So, and that'll still be an MVC, but it'll be new template, new look and feel, new features, more streamlined, easier to build, and then blog and Blazor. So Blazor blog will be something that we'll put out this year.
I'm looking forward to the new Bug Tracker. Sure.
Yeah. So it's cool. It is cool. And I'll start recording the Bug Tracker here soon, probably when we get in the new place in the next couple of weeks. I'll start recording. We still got some things to iron out on like the starting point of the software, like what state do I want the software to be in? What is the finished product? And then once I have the finished project, I can start recording. So
good stuff. Let's see. Oranges to Oranges says, making the switch from web dev to software dev. It's recommended to get into software QA to get in the door until the portfolio is ready to elevate the career. Is there any other position relative to software QA?
So you're switching from web dev to software dev. Okay, I'm not sure what the difference are. Are you talking about desktop software or mobile software?
So, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would think that you should be able to switch by building projects. Unless you're not currently working as a web dev. If you're currently working as a web dev and you want to work in mobile or desktop dev or some other kind of engineering, build projects in that arena. What are you trying to build, and build that and show it to somebody, and you can elevate your career. But if you're just switching because you weren't successful breaking into web dev, I would stick with web dev. It's going to give you more opportunities if you're looking at junior positions. Yeah. But hey, man, software QA is a career. You can do it. Hope that helps, Oranges.
Let's end up with this. No Justice Justin. Will you guys have a podcast? Yes. We talked about it at the beginning here, but you probably
It's called the Not Null Podcast. Yeah.
You can go right here to the Not Null Podcast. The link is in the description below. So we're a couple of episodes in. We have a third one coming out Monday. And we started with episode 0. So,
right. This show will always remain on YouTube. We're just too far down the road on this show to,
Yeah, we're still going to do these every Thursday.
Maybe we can convert this to a podcast. Maybe we'll push it out. I mean, it's possible. We haven't really thought about that. Maybe. And so you can have a audio only version. But there's a lot of visual things we do here that.
Yeah, might not work as a podcast. This one's designed to be podcast first, audio video first. Second. It is on YouTube as well. There is a YouTube channel for this as well. But this is, you can get this any of your podcast players. This is on. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeart, TuneIn, Overcast, all of them. We're on all of them. Yeah, I thought it was cool when I first pushed it out, and I opened up the podcast app, and I'm like, look, there we are. Now, I guess we're now officially podcasts as well as YouTubers. Now, I guess once we've got an RSS feed, that's all it counts.
Look at Andy's last comment; it's kind of funny. The very last one.
Yes.
You caught it. Yes, we started with 0 and not 1.
We had to start with 0. Everybody knows you start at 0, right? I mean, it'd be technically wrong if we didn't.
Right, yeah. And it couldn't have been null, because if null was
Yeah. So
null means there wasn't an episode. So
yeah, and there was. So
so it's episode 0. So
we're on episode 2. Technically, comes out Monday. So if you subscribe to it, you'll get that push on.
So if you pull back an array of episodes from the RSS feed, the position will match the episode number.
It will. We're forward thinking about that. We're definitely
exactly.
Well, we can't start with 1. That'd just be wrong.
No, we can't. In case someone pulls back, an array of episodes.
So the podcast, we're joined by our good friends Alex Tech Rally and Paul Coding After 30. So we talk about not developer stuff as much, although we may do some of that at some point. But it's more about just general technology stuff. We talk about AI. We talk about electric cars. We talk about VR. We talk about all this stuff more generally and more nebulous than we do talk about here.
Right.
Yeah. So Cool. Okay.
Andy's saying plus the episode, the podcast is called Not Null. Exactly. You're catching on now. It's not null. Exactly. There's content in it.
It's not null. We might introduce a bit where we have a thing where we say if it's null or not null. Does that work? Is that like hot or not kind of thing, kind of vibes to it? But it's like, is it good or bad? Null or not null? Yeah. So if it's not null, it's cool. If it's null, it's bad. Maybe we'll talk about that. But this week we're introducing a new bit, which you'll see on Monday sneak peek. We're calling it Skynet Watch. So
Skynet Watch. Yeah.
Heads up, it's an AI bit. Gonna be on every week, I think.
Some of the guys in the show believe more strongly in AI than I do. I'm more of get off my lawn AI. I just don't think it's gonna do it. I mean, and I think Bing proves that. When you just this thing's stupid, man. When you start really digging in, it's like, come on, man.
I'm more about
make our search engine. That's what we want.
I'm more about the belief that AI is a thing, as a more nebulous thing, as a more bigger thing, right? I think AI can be a thing. In its current, is ChatGPT the thing? No, it's not the thing.
No,
it's not.
Are we going to code with a text prompt? No, we're always going to have coding languages.
No.
Will AI do things like rotoscoping and transform the way image editing works?
Yes,
yeah, in some of those situations, it's cool. I mean, it's really cool. There's some things now where that takes the audio from our podcast and it just sweetens.
Yes,
that's cool. Could we do that manual? Yeah, take Kevin.
Just takes
4 straight days.
Exactly.
This just automatically levels it. It's really cool. So the very specific things that software is written that uses AI to be able to do it is a thing. The all-knowing oracle that controls all of humanity and machines and everything doesn't exist and never will.
Yet.
That's what we're gonna have. I'm gonna go to the Skynet watch. I'm waiting for it, man. You know. So
I think we get Skynet, but is it a derivative of ChatGPT? No.
No.
I don't think it'll ever be tied back to ChatGPT. We're like, you remember that thing that we used to call AI, that ChatGPT thing? Like, yeah, that was pretty dumb, wasn't it?
But I will say this: if you did write a movie and the AI came out and said, "I'm a good being," it would be creepy. I mean, like, you know, like it is a creepy line when you look at it. Like, oh wow, I can see that being. I'm a good being, Kevin.
Yeah. Oh, I know you can imagine how it says it too. Can't you? It's just very creepy.
Like,
yeah.
I'm a good being. You are not.
Yeah. You're a bad person. I'm a good being, because it's very dry, isn't it? Too. It's just very like, matter of fact.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a good being t-shirts next week. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm a good being. It's so good. It's so good. Like, you can't make that meme up, man. It just it's a meme generator is what ChatGPT is inside of Bing search.
If somebody wants to make that little, little iRobot like image, and then I'm a good being like thing below it meme, I think you're onto something there.
You're onto something.
You're onto something. Cool. Let's get out of here. Let's go get some tacos.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks everybody for hanging out. We appreciate it.
Side of cookies.
Yeah,
some tacos and a side of cookies.
That's it. That's it.
See you next week. Keep coding.
We'll catch you guys later.